Hello everyone and welcome to today's art stream. I hope all of you are having a lovely week. It is great to be back, and I think this is the first time I've done 2 streams in 1 week at the normal time on the right days in quite a while, so this feels like an important milestone to me. Anyway, welcome. As you can see, we have a new full body character design to work up today. They are a Tiefling. Bear with me. They're like I think they might be a cleric of the Raven Queen. Pretty sure they are a cleric of the Raven Queen. We love the Raven Queen here. And yeah, this is basically what we're going to be working on today. As you can see, sketch finalized. We've got a Tiefling with huge hair, which, as many of you will know, Tieflings with big hair have a special place in my heart. And yeah, we're going to be working up the line art to start with. And you can see another big duster jacket. We've had a few characters with that sort of fashion lately. And of course, really, really fashionable boots. Saccharine Clockwork, thank you so much. But yeah, we're just going to get started. As you can see, currently the sketch is done on multiple different layers. This is kind of how I work up sketches. Usually what I do is I start with the basic kind of body shape. As you can see, I've erased quite a lot of it already. I tend to erase bits as they get covered up with clothing. Then I will add kind of features that are attached to the body, such as the head. Heads are important, and the tail. Then I add hair. Then I add the most important kind of silhouette parts of the outfit, and finally all of the kind of details that are inside the outfit. So first things first, let me check my chair is all the way down. Yes, it is. I'm going to go ahead and just merge the sketch all into one layer. We don't need it multiply kind of split up anymore. And we're going to turn the opacity right down so it's nice and faint. Next thing I need to do is resize the canvas. We're going to go with, let's go 3300. This should give us a big enough canvas to get the line art looking nice and neat. Alright then, so then it's probably worth naming this layer just so we don't kind of get them mixed up, and making a new layer for our line art. I do imagine I might be using several layers for this line art purely because it's quite a complicated design, so I might end up with more than one line art layer. But yes, it's very important that we set this to multiply, and then we can select our brush, which is, I use it all the time, it's my favorite brush. It is the hard round pressure size with the transfer setting turned on there. You can see kind of how the settings need to be. Hey, greetings Artful Tarask. I hope California is comfortable. I hear it's pretty hot and smoky over there right now, so take care, okay? But yeah, I'm going to start with a size, 9 might be a bit big, let's go for a 7. Yeah, 7 will treat us right. And then it's just a matter of just kind of getting stuck in. Curly Kitten, do you have videos of your old VODs? I absolutely do. If you check out this link in chat, I have a YouTube channel where I try to keep up to date with my VODs. I'm a little bit behind. I think I uploaded a couple last week. I need to add some more because I'm most definitely behind. I need to catch up with where I currently am. They just take so dang long to download. But yeah, I hope you can, chill out and enjoy those, Curly Kitten. Thank you so much. But yeah, so we're just very gently going to start drawing the line art over the sketch. Obviously, very important to keep them on separate layers. And I like to keep my touch incredibly gentle when doing line art. I'm barely touching the canvas for this, which is why the transfer setting is so important in your brush settings, because it allows your pen pressure to directly affect the opacity of the brush stroke as well as its size. So I'm just going to go ahead, cut into some of this line art a bit just to neaten it up a touch. And then we can just give the ear some detail. So I'm going to go ahead and just line in the ear, and then we can start the other facial features. I always give my Tieflings long kind of elfy ears. I don't know why, it's just part of my style now. Alright, so just going to go ahead and get this filled in. You might be able to see behind me, there is a great big blue dress on my tailor's dummy, just kind of sitting there behind me that I've nearly finished. I've been doing a lot of costuming lately to kind of be my thing that I do to relax. After doing, obviously, illustration work. and I look forward to kind of showing it. I'm very excited for it. Okay, so that's kind of the basic contours of the face. I'm just going to go ahead and put in this part of the neck right now, just because I like to get that done. And the other side of the neck is slightly obscured by hair, so I'm not going to draw in all of that. I'm just going to do that little line there. And then I think we can get started with the facial features. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump down to a size 5, make our brush a little bit smaller to deal with these details. And we're just going to go in, again, very light touch, gradually building our line up of multiple, much smaller lines. I don't like to do kind of one big stroke at a time. I like to do lots of tiny brush strokes, and in that way my line art looks a little bit sketchy, but I've kind of come to like that and come to make that part of my style. So I've never been very good at doing long smooth lines in one go. My hands just aren't really steady enough, so I kind of found a way to work around it. Okay, so just following up the shape of the nose. I don't know why I usually start with the lips and then work my way up to the eyes. It might be because the eyes are the hardest part of the facial features to draw. That could be it. I don't know. Just going to very, very gently suggest a little diamond on the end of the nose there. That I might end up minimizing later on. Alright, now it's time for the eyes, the hardest part. So we're going to try and keep the lines nice and smooth, despite the fact that obviously they are constructed out of multiple smaller lines. Just so we got some nice shapes going on here. There we go. And then the kind of top eyelid comes down here, and then we've got just the bottom lid quite gently there. We don't want to overdo the bottom lid. That's a good point. Eyebrows are quite easy to forget. I tend to do them last, actually, as well, when I'm doing facial features. Don't know why. Just habit, I suppose. But yeah, the same approach with the other eye. Kind of just suggesting in some little lashes coming across there, but for the most part, keeping the details fairly light. This is going to be a flat shaded full body rather than the full detail, full painterly style. Which is a reason to try and keep the line art both clean and concise. Alright, now we can do those eyebrows, coming down like so. And a slightly frowny face. Got a slightly kind of sassy, fierce cleric here. That's very fair, that's very fair. I mean, I don't really use my own face as reference that much. I don't know why, I just don't. If I did, every eyebrow would be crazy bushy. Alright, now I'm just gonna gently pop in the shape of the kind of iris there. And then what we can do is, I need to decide if I'm happy with this. And actually, I think I'm quite happy with that. That's looking okay. So what I might do next is we'll pop in the horns, which are very cool and spirally. I'm going to go back up to a size 6. And these are going to have quite a lot of texture. That's good because my line art style kind of suits having nice textural bits. And then the spiral is just going to continue up until it kind of loops around on itself. You know, as spirals are wont to do. Spinny, spinny, spinny. Our lips are very hard. No, yeah, I totally agree there. Lips are difficult. And the only reason I found the best way to get a hand on drawing lips was just to study so many photos of different types of lips, different shapes, kind of learn how they're constructed just by copying. And that's kind of how I've learned a lot of, I'm basically self-taught when it comes to drawing, and kind of emulating and copying is very much how I've learned a lot of what I do. Gonna get the final little bits of the right hand horn in there. It's difficult with horns because you kind of have to obviously mirror the shapes, but you're kind of working in a completely different viewpoint. So it can be very difficult to do the other horn. It's like the other eye situation, and then you flip the canvas and they look totally weird and you're like, well, why did I bother? Horns are fun though. I like the amount of kind of variation and fun design quirks you can do with horns. Okay, let's see how that's looking. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with those. They look horny. Let's carry on and we'll start working our way down this huge hair that this character has. Very big hair on this character. We're going to just stay in a 6 for now because this hair has a lot of detail and a lot of stuff going on. So let's stay like this for now. Little black chat, that's such a cool little idea. I love that. That is a really cool trick, and I will definitely be using that in the future. What I sometimes do if I'm really struggling, and I do this often with wings, is I'll make little paper cutouts and like take a picture of them in the different angles that they need to be. And that's like one way I can sometimes use to deal with wings and stuff like that. So this is like a multi-stranded big old knot braid on top of the character's hair here, so just gonna pop that in. It's kind of almost like a bit of a Viking vibe to this character. Kind of reminds me of Ayla from High Rollers. Oh, bless Ayla to pieces. And we're just gonna add some details for kind of strands and texture coming up there, and then we can just go ahead and kind of show where the hair is being drawn in from. It's kind of like a Dutch braid situation, so hair is going to be like bound in from the sides. Yeah, wings can be really tough. Again, it's worth finding a specific bird that has the sort of wings that you imagine for the character. So for example, I was drawing a character recently who had very sharp wings, and if you want long sharp wings, you want birds that spend a long time at sea, like skuas, quite agile but like tough seabirds like skuas, and terns have very sharp wings, and those work really well for reference for those sorts of things. Alright, just adding a few. This hair's got quite a lot of decorations in it. In this case we've got like some feathers and things, so we're gonna pop these details kind of in as we go along. But for the most part, we've just got big volume to deal with. And we're just going to continue this all along the side and down the back and everywhere their hair needs to be. Oh, I love magpies. So my LARP character, my Empire LARP character, is basically themed along magpies and blue jays. And doing design work for her has been so much fun. So you can see we've got kind of strands that are starting to become a bit looser and a little bit fluffier as we go down. And then we've got a big braid coming down the side here, which I'm actually going to work in now. Ooh, Tiefling. Oh, is that an ASMR Tiefling cross? That is really cool. I've had a few Tiefling. I never thought about calling them that. I've had a few of those in some of my games, and oh, they're so much fun. Lots of drama. Lots of reconciling the divine and the infernal. We love it here. Just gonna pop in the details for this braid. I must admit, I feel a lot of inspiration to do big hair lately because I've been watching The Owl House, and I'm just in love with Ida in every possible way. She is fantastic. What a fantastic character. I'm actually going to go down a brush size for a sec, because Because we've got a few little details. Whoops, I just want a 5. Let me select a 5, but damn it. We've got a little kind of bones and things in their hair, so I kind of want to pop in some of those details. Just like, they're probably like little bird bones or rodent bones or something. And then back up to a 6 to continue working down the braid. Hey, Elran, welcome. Oh, halflings also wonderful with big hair. I love it. I just love the energy halflings bring to the table, any table. It's always fantastic. I played a halfling, I think it was a halfling ranger. That's the only halfling I've played. And the only ranger I've played. And they were the UA Unearthed Arcana class when it was about, I think it was the Ancestral Guardian Ranger. I don't think it made it into a book in the end. But like, and it was also a Christmas themed game. So this halfling would turn into a huge Christmas tree. And just like spin around madly like the aliens from the Doctor Who Christmas special. And they were probably one of the most ridiculous characters I've ever played, and so much fun. And their name was Spruce. I still remember. Gosh, I want to play them again. They were so much fun. Little gremlin halflings. Hell yeah. Just gonna add like some little kind of runes and decorations here in the beads. Okay, that's one side done. I think I'm going to try and finish most of this side of the hair before moving on to the right hand side, because there's a lot of hair here to cover. Let's go ahead and do this little skull now as well, little raven skull. And why not make it a slightly creepy raven skull? Because why ever not, eh? Weird raven skull. Oh, barbarians, yeah. So one of my probably my favorite all-time D&D character is a Tiefling barbarian named Riza. I'm gonna get to play her again soon, and I'm very excited because she is one of the most fun I've ever had in D&D. Barbarians are just amazing. I love playing them. I never thought I would. I didn't expect to love them when I first rolled her up, because I was like, I'll try and think of a class I haven't played before. Let's try Barbarian. And then I gave it a go, and it was like, oh my god, this is so much fun. I'm just completely feral chaos, and it's perfect. So highly recommend good old Barbs. Especially part of the subclass, Path of the Beast is incredibly fun. Just Wolverining it. Oh, Elran. Oh dear. The puns are with us, everyone. Get all of these nice little flicks and tufts of hair as the hair starts to kind of split apart and form smaller shapes towards the bottom. I'm trying to avoid getting too close to the arm here, because obviously we've got a lot of line art yet to work out there. There we go. You can kind of see how that's all looking now without the sketch underneath. Good afternoon, Strangerling. Welcome, and thank you so much to Sunbeard Rising. Oh my god. Thank you so much for the follow. Sorry, I completely messed that up. Yeah. Oh look, we have another braid. Let's pop that in there. Gosh, I should just really try and read usernames before I try and say them, because how embarrassing. And then the side of the brace is going to disappear into the main body of the hair there. And then obviously we've got hair coming in behind. And then the braid will continue up here. And we're just putting a little bit of texture for it. Not too much. Most of it's going to come across in the good old painting layer. Oh, Saccharine Clockwork, thank you so much. Big hair is definitely one of my favorite things to draw. And one of the things I actually, feel kind of good about. I feel like one of the things I can do, big hair. Hence, every single one of my D&D characters will always have huge hairstyles. Alright, we're almost there now. Just a few more kind of bits and pieces and strands to work in on this side, and then we can do the other side, but should go a little bit quicker. There we go, that's the one side. Let's do the other side. Big hair don't care, very, very much indeed. Alright, let's do the other braid first, I think. We've got a little kind of jewelry ring going around the braid here. Then we'll swap back up to a 6. And work up the braid from its base. I usually start from the bottom with braids. Don't know why, I just always have. I think sometimes it just makes, in my mind just visualizes it easier if I start at the base and work my way up for some reason. Am I still playing my Dampier Druid? I am definitely still playing her. We haven't had a session in a little while because we've all been very busy with work. Also, the heat wave kind of knocked a lot of us out because we're not used to heat here in the UK. But that game is 100% still going, and I'm very excited to take our next steps. Okay, just adding in again a little bit of texture to the braids as we work our way down. Lovely. And then we can put on the piece of jewelry at the bottom, which is going to be very similar to the one on the other side. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and save, since we've done quite a lot of quite intense stuff. I don't want to lose it. And now we can finish off the hair on the right hand side. Howdy from the valley, Stardew Valley, and thank you very much. And I'm just gonna continue drawing the big curly hair down. I always go from the scalp, working my way down. Again, it might just be a visualization thing. It helps me kind of work out where it's all going to be, or, there's probably some interesting psychology in there somewhere. I don't know. And then just a few more nice bouncy curls coming out and around. And we are almost done. And I like to think of hair as kind of forming clumps. I don't like to draw every individual strand, and that's kind of a mistake a lot of, I made a lot when I was starting out as an artist, trying to draw every last strand, thinking that would be what makes hair look realistic, but I find hair is a lot more realistic if you tackle it in kind of chunks and clumps, treating it as kind of lumps of material rather than a bazillion individual strands. Like some bits come more strand-like, so for example these little bits on the ends, just to kind of give it that feeling of being fluffy by having the smaller kind of bits and pieces. But as a general rule, you can kind of treat it as if it's made out of lots of big kind of chunks. Yeah, there's a lot going on with this hair. Alright, cool. So with the hair done, it is time to start on the actual outfit that this lovely character is wearing, which begins with a high collar, which we're going to start with. Because a lot of people seem to be dressing their characters in duster jackets these days, which, you know, I am totally on board with. It's quite a fun challenge trying to design a slightly different fantasy duster jacket every time. And then we've got kind of a hood that's coming out and over. Like so. And I'm just going to pop that in on the other side as well, just so we have some continuity. And, you know, it's slightly worn because this character has been, you know, they're a martial character, they get involved. There we go. And then, as mentioned, the hood coming back from here. Like so. We'll go around the back. Obviously, we can't see the back of the hood because it's just hidden by so much hair. But there are these little epaulets, and we can see those. And you can see the other one on the other side is also slightly buried. Alright, and now I'm going to save again, because this is going well, I don't want it all to die. And from here, I think what we're going to do, we're just going to start working our way down with the coat as our kind of biggest part of the design. Some little fabric kind of creases in there inside the collar because the coat itself is essentially going to get pushed back and stuck behind the hand and kind of like worn behind the hip almost. As you can kind of see, it's all kind of creasing up down there. And then we've kind of got the area where the arm attaches, just kind of here. Again, you get a lot of creases on this kind of area. With these kind of jackets, you just get a whole bunch of fabric kind of creasing up and bunching up around the arm, kind of regardless. But it's definitely exacerbated by the fact that obviously this pose, you've got one arm kind of bent up. Yeah, there's that arm there. There's kind of less creases on the outside edge of the sleeve. Okay, see how it's coming along. Hey Lizeth, hey, welcome. Today we are working on this delightful Tiefling. I believe they are a cleric of the Raven Queen. I cannot be totally sure though. Big hair, big hair teeth. Yeah, we love tieflings here. We're all familiar with just how much I draw tieflings. And then a few more creases coming across, because obviously the arm being bent here always causes so many creases. If you look up kind of images of dusters online, which is what I do when I'm kind of preparing to draw a character like this, so I kind of know how the fabric's going to flow. Yeah, you'll see that most of them get very creasy. You have to kind of iron them quite a lot. Oh, saccharine clockwork. Yeah, don't worry. I 100% know that feeling. And then just the bottom of the little strap coming down here. Another thing duster jackets often have is a sort of a strap that goes around the sleeve. I'm still not totally sure why. I think it might be a stylistic choice. But yeah, this particular image is going to be part of a ref sheet piece, the last ref sheet in my current commission batch, which is very fun, because it means I get to draw more of this character. There we go, it's another quick little look, and I'm just going to pop this, their right hand in now. Since I'm here. Now, I don't believe this tiefling has too much in the way of claws, unlike mine, who has heckin' big claws. I might just zoom in a tiny bit. Ooh, exciting. Yeah, I'm so excited for the Tal'Dorei book. It's gonna be wonderful. I actually tried to get the original Tal'Dorei guide for ages, and was really grumpy because it was impossible to find. And then this was like just a week or so before they announced, obviously, they're doing the new one. And I was like, oh, that explains why I couldn't find it anywhere. And now it's alright because I don't mind waiting. Okay, let's just join up here. There we go. There is a hand. Let's save again. I like to save nice and often. Hey, welcome, Shazy Art. Welcome to today's stream. It is Tiefling time yet again. It is often Tiefling time here. In fact, we operate on Tiefling time in this plane of existence. Let's just do the other side of the collar here. Tieflings deserve their own plane of existence. They kind of do. Yeah, I like how it's coming along. Let's just do just the side of the coat that's mostly hidden by the body. It's still going to have quite a lot in the way of kind of creases and fabric creases, but it's going to be a little more subtle because we can't really see them, and I don't want to draw too much attention to the side of the body that's going to be a bit more hidden. And then of course this side of the coat drops down behind the leg and is kind of hidden by the hip because of the sassy pose this tiefling has going. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just kind of show this belt coming over the side as the point where the coat is kind of coming over. And then just tidy up a little bit on some of those construction lines. Okay, now I'm going to backtrack a tiny bit. In fact, I might go ahead and put this belt in first, and then we can do the details of the blouse and what she's wearing underneath the coat. Yes, I believe this character is a Raven Queen adherent. And thank you so much. I love painting big hair. Painting and drawing big hair just makes me really happy, so I put a lot of love into it. All my characters have enormous hair. I don't know why. It might be because I myself have incredibly flat, straight hair that never does anything exciting, so almost all my characters have quite big hairstyles because, you know, live your life through your D&D characters. And then we're just going to draw the way the belt ties off at the bottom. I don't know if any of you have ever worn a belt like this. It's really fun. If you have a belt that's way too long, I often like to put like a belt knot in it and have the tail coming down like I'm some kind of Arthurian knight. This one in particular has quite a long tail. There we go. Just going to draw the slight three-dimensional elements peeking around that side, and then we can also put in the little belt holes. There we go. Let's just have another go at turning off the sketch, and it is coming together. Right, let's finish this part of the belt coming down here. And then again, adding that slight three-dimensionality on the top edge, like that. And then what we can do is we can finish the second belt, just joining up these lines as that sweeps across here. Again, the suggestion of that top slight three-dimensional curve. And there we go, that's the two main belts. We then have the blouse and this little kind of waist cincher to pop in. So let's pop those in now. So I'm gonna jump back up to a size 6 in the brush because we don't need the tiny brush anymore. And we're just gonna go ahead lining the neckline of this blouse. And then a very subtle inner seam there, because a lot of blouses constructed like this will have an extra layer of fabric just there for kind of for support and to strengthen the sides that have these, obviously these ties in them. Actually no, this isn't quite right. These ties need to be a bit smaller. So let's jump down to a size 4 so we can draw these laces properly. There we go, like so. And then just popping in the little eyelets which the ties are coming from. I actually spent about an hour earlier today setting eyelets in the garments you can see behind me on my dummy. Eyelets are really fun, it means a lot of hammering. So, just gonna do a quick save and then we continue. So I'm actually only gonna go up to a 5 temporarily because we've got these gentle kind of fabric creases I just want to pop in, and then we can do the bottom of the blouse. Hey Queerbird, lovely to see you here in chat. Hope you're having a lovely week. Okay, that's the bottom of her blouse, and now let's do the little cincher that she's wearing, which is partially obscured by the belts, but that's not going to stop us. There's another layer of leather just there. There we go. Okay, now once again, pop in the laces and the eyelets. Oh, no, I made it forget. These don't want to go all the way, they want to kind of go inside the cincher when they get to that central area. And we'll do the same thing over here. And then the eyelets, 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 eyelets. Same over here. And then we're going to grab a really small eraser tool, probably about size 4, and just erase the parts that are crossing over. There we go. And there is the waist cincher. So let's just go ahead and save again. Oh, Dean Ferry, thank you very much. Fabric folds are something I took a very long time to kind of get semi-decent at. They honestly were the bane of my life when I was younger and I was kind of learning how to draw them, but once you kind of get the hang of them, they actually become quite therapeutic and almost enjoyable. But you're probably just gonna have to trust me on that. Little bit of hair there, just kind of coming in under the shoulder. Hey, Mad Rad Style Child, thank you so much. That's incredibly kind of you. Alright, and then basically under the waist cincher, we have a situation where this kind of blouse tucks in underneath and comes down in these kind of 3 sections. A central section, and these 2 kind of side bits. So it's more like a tunic than a blouse, I suppose, if you want to be accurate about it. So let's pop in the central part of said tunic first. And this is an opportunity to have some fun with fabric folds. And I always start by doing the outline, and it's very important you kind of have this wavy multiple S shape, because then the next thing to do is you want to move vertical lines coming up from kind of like the apexes of those S's. Like so, if you just kind of watch where I'm placing these. And this is actually a trick. This is a fun little trick for helping with fabric folds. You always want to go up from those kind of outside edges. There's a little bit of a kink there, so I'm going to put one here as well. And then you just go up towards wherever the fabric is kind of flowing from. And that will immediately give you a kind of wobbly fabric effect. Yeah. Oh, noses are tough as well. Not gonna lie, to learn how to draw noses, I traced a whole bunch of noses on photographs, and that really helped me. I find, honestly, tracing to practice very useful. Ignore anyone who says it isn't a valid learning tool. As long as you're not going ahead and uploading it and saying it's completely original, tracing is a very valid learning tool. There we go, that's one side bit. Let's do the other one. Yeah, it's weird. I actually think ears are my least favourite part of the face to draw. I find ears a lot weirder, a lot more complicated shapes, at least personally, going on in ears. Like, it's almost, I find it easier to draw like elf ears than to draw normal human ears at this point. Alright, let's just do a little save there. And, yeah, do not trace other people's art, obviously. Like, tracing photographs is a good way to get a handle on it. Obviously, in terms of stylization, you'll have to kind of find your own calling for that sort of thing. But for understanding structure, tracing anatomy is very useful. Alright, she's kind of wearing leggings underneath her tunic. And we'll kind of make that obvious in the colouring stage, but another way you can make it obvious is just by adding just a few very gentle fabric folds. Obviously, the more skin tight you want the leggings to be, the fewer fabric folds you'll want to add. But it kind of depends on exactly what you're going for. Kind of see that the knee is just there, so we're adding a few little folds down by the knee, and then let's just pop in the other leg. Oh, another place you'll often get fabric folds is up coming across the hips, because fabric is often stretched across the hips quite severely, so you tend to get a lot of creasing happening up there as well. Saccharine clockwork. I like to forget that ears exist, and then I get around to painting them and I'm like, oh, why are you here? Cry. Anyway, yes, we're just going to follow down the side of the other leg, trying to keep these lines as smooth as possible. I'm not very good at smooth straight lines, so oops, kind of just got to go with the flow. Again, let's just check how it's looking without the sketch layer underneath. It's looking nice. And thank you so much to Freaky Teacher for the follow. Oh gosh, I'm not sure if Nightbot allows links in chat at the moment, and unfortunately I don't think my mod is here to change that. It might do, I'm not sure. You're welcome to try. Nightbot can be a little savage. Another good way to kind of suggest your character's wearing leggings instead of obviously having bare legs is to do a little side seam. In this case, the character's slightly turned enough that you might see an inner side seam. So there we go there. Now for the booties. We've got some quite tight kind of adventuring boots going on here. There we go. Nightbot's not very happy. Sorry. It does that sometimes. The good news is we are making good time, so I should be able to start colouring this while we're here. I unfortunately have to shoot off after my stream because I am hosting some friends this evening, which will be really fun. And I really help my partner clear up the house because it's not fair otherwise. Some nice little creases around the ankles, and then we're going to have some kind of mini kind of belt-like accessories down here. And another one here. Just going to shave down that bottom a bit. And then I might actually just add a little decorative, completely useless but decorative buckle. Because it's all about aesthetic, really, when you're adventuring. You gotta look good to slay good. And then the actual shoe itself, feet and shoes are another thing I find particularly challenging. I always have to look up a whole bunch of reference for drawing shoes and feet. And obviously that comes around there. We have the heel, and then the actual heel. Okay, there is one. Let's do the other. No, I want shrimp too, that's not bad. I didn't think I'd see in chat the phrase, just Google Tumblr shrimp. But here we are. And I'm very happy that it's actually an art thing. Alright, just gonna follow down side the boot. Here and this side. Checking out how that looks. Yep, that's fine. And then of course once we get to here, we have more of these big kind of leather creases going on. You can see kind of matching on this side, only this leg's a bit more bent, so the creases are a little bit more prominent. I love that we're learning shrimp lessons here today. Another of these kind of pairs of belts around the bottom. Okay, and then finally I'm going to put another of these silly decorative buckles up on this one. Okay, and then we'll work our way down and do the rest of the boot. Oops. There we go. My viewpoint suddenly messed up briefly, but we got it back. The music really has gone for maximum chill today, and this I appreciate. Alright, so we have the sole coming across, it's slightly raising up, like so. And then, of course, the heel cutting in there. And there we have two pairs, well, one pair of boots, two boots individually. Yep, this is Kai Engel as usual, kind of my go-to stream music. Oh, I tell you what, we've done the arm. Let's go ahead and line the arm. Otherwise, she'll be armless. Ha ha ha. And again, there's going to be obviously more of these creases, but we don't want to go overboard because obviously this arm is hidden behind the body, so we want it to be a little bit more subtle. Look, Elran, it's not just you who makes puns around here. I can do it too. And I'm the boss around here, so I can do it whenever I like. Okay, there is the other sleeve. I'm just going to go down and just draw in the hand. Clasping a blade. This character is armed with two short swords. They're usually worn on the character's back, But this character has so ding-dang much hair that you can't actually see where this sword is. I did have to point this out. But, you know, the hair came first. Alright, let's just work on the sword hilt. And then I'll use a little trick for the actual blade. Just gonna add a little bit of decoration there, as you can see. And then we have the actual blade. Now, rather than just do that as normal on this layer, in fact, there needs to be a little finger just poking up over there. And then the other finger's kind of hidden around the side. Anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a new layer because we need nice straight lines to get this sword looking sharp. And I also need to move it to the side because, as you can see, the sword is almost going into the side of the canvas there. So anyway, what we're going to do, to get an instant straight line, just hold down Shift and draw. You can only do it, obviously, in a 90-degree angle, but it's an easy way to quickly get a perfectly straight line. Whoops, do not want to do that to it. There we go. Now we can just basically put it where we want it. I'm just going to hold down Control, which lets me kind of transform it around and shift it around to get it where it needs to be. Then I'm just going to copy, paste, and do the same thing for the other side. I thought Photoshop was going to murder me then. Let's just save again because that took a little bit longer than I wanted it to. There we go. Once again, holding down Control, we can make sure the line fits the right shape. In fact, the first line is a little bit off, so I'm just going to put that there. Then I'm going to go ahead and merge these two together, trim down these unruly edges, and do the same down here. I'm just going to manually draw in the point there, cut it down so it's a little bit cleaner. And this is a very nice way to get a nice sharp looking blade and make sure that the layers are nice and straight. I'm just going to go ahead, shift it over slightly because the original sketch isn't quite right. And then what we need to do, we actually need to do the center of the sword. There will be a little, whoops, little bit in the middle. So a new layer once again. And this time there's going to be two very close together perpendicular lines. We are going to transform this. And this is going to go in the middle of our blade. And it can be a bit of a job to get this perfect. But that's actually not bad. Yeah, I like that. Okay. And then it's just a little jiggery pokery to match the main shape of the blade. And then we can go ahead. I'm actually just going to turn that off for a second. So we can connect these parts. And there is the short sword. Nice and easy, cool. So with the sketch back on, we only have a few things left to do for the line art. We can, in fact, let's just merge those together now. We can go ahead and do the rest of the coat and her tail, which is kind of sneaking up over the end of the coat there. Do I have any tips for painting liquids? Interesting. In terms of context, are we talking like contained liquids, like stuff in a bottle? Liquids are very difficult to draw. Usually with amorphous things like liquids, spell effects, or gases, I don't do line art for them. I tend to purely do them in the coloring stage, so they don't have, well, the thing obviously about gases is they don't have any solid outlines, and like liquids have quite soft outlines. Again, it's another reason I don't tend to give them line art. I would say, let's say we're drawing the inside of a potion. The important thing is to establish the surface of your liquid. Let's say it was that. And then the shape of the receptacle that they are in. Let's say this, and this could either be for like a potion bottle or a wine glass or something. And then it's kind of a matter of working out, like, is the thing in motion? Is it going to be kind of like sloshing over? And then you can kind of add a bit more dynamic movement to them. You know, you can kind of get them sloshing out of the sides. And this is kind of how I usually kind of structure this kind of thing, by starting with a fairly static shape and then kind of adding kind of motion like this. This is an incredibly quick and scrappy image, but you always kind of want to be thinking about what it's contained within, because that's the shape it will be taking. I hope that helped a little bit. It's difficult to do with a line art image, but that's kind of how I approach it thought-wise, is to think of what it's contained within and work from there. When it comes to spell effects, I don't really have a particular way of doing those. It's very much a look up some inspiration, experiment, because I don't really know how to draw stuff like fire and lightning super well, so I do it a bit differently every time I do it. And those kind of things are where I do experiment with stuff like brushes and special Photoshop brushes, because you can get some cool like lightning brushes or arcane trail brushes. I'll show you a really cool one I've got for trails. It's ultra specialized, so I don't actually use it very much, but it looks cool, so I'll show you in a sec. Alright, let's just finish this coat and then I'll show you some cool brushes. Alright, so... and very much like before, with fabric folds, you're always looking for which direction the line's going. In this case, we've got long vertical lines, which will be coming from wherever we have a noticeable step in these shapes. So we have the same sort of thing over here. There's a step here where the fabric kind of crosses over in front of itself. So we'll get a vertical line there before the fabric then continues around. Yeah, I'm really not a fan of the smear tool. I do use the blur tool for things like fire and spells and stuff. But I've never got on with smear. I'm just going to go ahead and put a tiny bit of width onto the edge of the coat there before I get back into the actual garment. And then just a little bit of fabric creasing, just to give it a bit of texture. And then we'll just connect the final bits, which are here. Try not to make a mess as I do it. And then due to that shape having again a kind of a step, there will be a little bit of creasing there. And finally, the tail. Good old tiefling tails. And now I'm going quite lightly here because I really want a smooth line. Obviously, the tail has the same sort of skin texture as where the face or the arms or the legs, so it needs to be smooth. That's the thing, like, I struggle with line art quite a lot. It took me a long time to be happy with it, especially because Photoshop doesn't facilitate the more sharp manga style line art very well. It's just not really made for it, the same way that Manga Studio or Paint Tool Sai do line art. So I just kind of developed my own way of doing line art, which is almost quite sketchy and quite fluid. And that's just kind of what I settled on. It's what I always use. It involves a lot of very short, small strokes and a slightly fluffy looking line. But I've kind of grown attached to it. Alright, let's just coil here around the top here. This is one of the few times I will do a single long stroke when I'm trying to kind of match shapes up. There we go. And then it's just a matter of tidying up a little bit here and there and putting in the spade on the tail. That's very weird, LRN, the way it does that. I was gonna say, I never remember Photoshop being amazing for line art, but it's interesting to know it used to be sharper. go. I'm just going to, again, tidy up some of these. Oof, my arm is starting to twinge a tiny bit. And then, of course, you can just about see, almost like the filament of a leaf, kind of where kind of 3D elements come into the tail. And there is our line art. Can I see the effect with and without the sketch below? So I'm just going to go ahead and do a save. And then think about what I want to do next, because we did that in just over an hour. So I think the next thing to tackle will be some colours. Let's begin some colours, and welcome Libri Arcano to the stream. Thank you so much. What I'm going to do first is we are going to make a new layer underneath the line art layer, and we're going to call it skin. I'm sure a lot of you are quite familiar with this process by now. And we are going to go ahead and select our base skin colour. This particular tiefling is a very pale, almost greyish blue. And when I hear that and I hear Raven Queen, I'm thinking about blues that are more close to purple than they are to green, to get that kind of ashen, kind of almost porcelain vibe. So we're going to go with this very pale kind of cornflower greyish blue as a starting point, and then we're going to work with it from there. 50 Shades of Tiefling. Very good, very good. Let's go. So, first thing to do, we need to alter our brush settings very slightly. We need to turn up the minimum opacity because I didn't used to do this, but I found that the amount of pressure I was having to put on the canvas to get a nice opaque line was really starting to hurt my shoulders. So I have changed up where I do things very slightly just to make it a bit easier on my shoulders, which is why you'll see me messing with that little opacity minimum slider. Because I didn't used to do it, so I understand it might confuse a few people who are familiar with my work. And yeah, basically the next thing to do is to just go ahead and paint a sort of outline around all the areas here that are going to be painted the base skin tone. Which in this character's case will be the neck and face, the hands, and the tail. And we're just going to carefully try and stay inside the lines as much as we can, because that will certainly make our lives easier going forward. And we're going to include the horns in this as well. So let's just go ahead with all that. And this stage can be a little bit tedious. I promise you it'll be infinitely more tedious when I have to hand paint in the hair. Whew, not looking forward to that. As much as I love big hair, the base painting stage can be tedious as heck. And yes, twisty horns are really fun, and little bird skulls. This character has a lot of fun details that I really enjoyed putting in. Alright, let's follow the twisty twists. Almost done with this bit. The hands should be fairly easy to base, and the tail might be a little bit more tedious, but we'll get through it. We'll make it through together. Alright, so when Photoshop decides it wants to work with me, there we go. We can just go ahead and drop that in. I'll be tidying up all those nasty white lines it leaves behind in a second. But before that, we are just going to put in the bases for the hands and the tail whilst we are here. Just following the shapes as carefully as we can, because if we go over the lines now and we don't sort it out, it means that when we come to paint the clothing and all these layers that'll be underneath the skin, we'll have lots of nasty kind of bits of paint going where they shouldn't. And we don't want that. Is this character prone to violence? Oh dear, Loran. I mean, whilst that is a good pun, I still can't approve of it. Alright, this one hand. Let's do the other. Start to do that thing where occasionally it will cut out my lines. I'm not sure why it does this. Photoshop has also weird habits. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead, bop. and bop. And then we will tackle the tail. This character's got quite a long tail. I needed the tail to be quite long in order to show it kind of coming out and underneath the coat. But I like long-tailed tieflings. I have a soft spot in my heart for them. My own tieflings tend to have quite long tails. Looks like it's actually quite a pleasant evening, which is good. There we go, that's one edge. We've got a little bit of it kind of tucking underneath here, which we'll need to fill in. Long-tailed tieflings. Love is stored in the tail. This I have heard. It might well be true. Okay, and then finally, the last stretch. Where's that on my screen? Gross. Sometimes it's easier to kind of put your arm at a bit of an angle to follow these arcs around. You can just kind of pivot from your elbow rather than your wrist. And I find that, I don't know, I was always told if you can move from your shoulder and your elbow, it'll save you a lot of wrist strain. I don't know if this is true or not, or whether it just relegates tension to other joints. But if it is true, then, I don't know, I subconsciously tried to do it. Just because it was what I was always taught. And I think it's a technique in draftsmanship as well. Like I used to do a lot of drafting for design tech, or like product design stuff. And when you're working on big drafting tables, you gotta move almost your whole upper body. So I think these are habits that are kind of stuck with me. Okie dokie, let's just do our fills. Fills, chills, and spills. And now we can start tidying them up. So what we're going to do, I'm going to make a slightly larger brush, and we're basically just going to go ahead, scribble over all these areas that have left these nasty white lines behind. And then, finally, we can start really adding some shape and character to this character. Also, this color is a little bit too far into purple, I think, so I'm just going to drag it back towards blue a little before we get started. But that's very easily done with the color adjustment settings. There we go. Let's just do the same for the hands and the tail. And because we've still got a very high opacity on our brush, this is quite a quick process, thankfully. This is a particularly chill track. No idea what it's called though. There's quite a long stretch of paint here, so I'm gonna have to scroll down a tiny bit to get to the bottom. Whoop. There we go, I think there's one tiny bit more up by the tail. Hey, thank you so much to Andrew Zeal for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Wonderful. Okay, that is all done. Let's make sure we save before everything gets lost. And now we are going to just play with these colours a bit and try and just experiment with this shade of blue. I want to push it towards a slightly stormier blue. There we go. That's the blue I was looking for when I got started. A slightly more ashy tone, which I really like. Nice gentle shade of blue. Oh, Captain Morgan! Yeah, exciting! Oh, I'm really excited for you. That's really nice to hear. Wonderful. Alright, so the first thing to do when we start shading the skin is to go ahead and touch this button up here. That's the alpha channel lock to stop us painting outside of our nice base area. Then we need to add a little bit of blush to the face. Ooh, this is quite intense actually. I might just, first of all, we need to put our pen pressure back to where it's meant to be. And I'm just gonna minimize this tiny bit. Awesome. So we're gonna draw a little triangle. Well, more of a diamond really. A weird kite shape, just to kind of cover the character's nose. Then with a much larger brush, we're just gonna very gently paint a sort of gentle, almost like raccoon mask that stops at the eyebrows to get a blush that goes across the entire face. And then with a slightly smaller brush, we are going to go ahead and just kind of blend in the edges of this so it's a very gentle gradient almost. And this just adds a bit of tone and a bit of life into the face, you know? But it is important to go back, grab that paler colour, and just put it back in on the highlight portion of the nose there. Alright, so the next thing to do, starting from that blush colour, is to start shading. So we're going to grab our first shadow colour, and I'm going to start with the kind of inside of the eyes. You often get a lot of shadow kind of building up here, especially if you've got a slightly kind of frowny expression. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this colour to basically outline the eyelids. Just kind of gently show where those are. And this immediately helps the eyes stand out quite nicely. Back down to a small brush again, and I'm going to zoom in a tiny bit. We can now add some shadow to the nose. We're going to follow the triangle we made earlier, and then just kind of follow along the shapes of the nose itself, and then just fill that in. I don't get to say thank you very, very much. Adlezaf, thank you. This is a very fun colour to play with. I'm really enjoying it. Then with a slightly bigger brush, I'm just going to go ahead and add a fairly subtle shadow underneath the lips. Smaller brush, little shadow in the corner of the mouth. You often find these little corners do sink into the skin a little bit. And then we can go ahead and start bringing it in elsewhere. So with a slightly bigger brush, I'm just going to suggest the side of it coming around the side of the face there. And then of course looping under the chin to give us the shadows on the neck that the face is creating. And in some cases, these can be quite dramatic, and obviously the hair, in this character's case, is also going to be creating quite a lot of dramatic shadows. So I'm just going to be popping in the shadows from like the shirt as well while we're here. And finally, with a slightly gentler colour, just a little suggestion of the collarbones. There we go. Hey, Curly Kitten, you have fun with that. Like, cutting up little wings can be a lot of chill, good fun time. Alright, now let's go ahead and add some shadows to the ears. There we go, just a bit of simple shadowing there. And then what we're going to do is we are going to shadow the horns. I will say what we're going to do with the horns is they're going to be a bit darker than most of the skin tone. So we'll be adding an adjustment layer above the horns in due course. But for now, we're just going to shade them with the colours we've got for the face. This can be slightly easier said than done, but as long as you follow the shapes you've made, you should be alright. And same over here. And there we go, see how it's all coming together, looking quite nice. What I might do here is, I might just add a bit of cheekbone shadow. So I'm going to come down here across and just add a bit of shading, just to kind of show where the cheekbone comes in there. Usually I wouldn't do this, but I find it can make the face look a bit nicer and softer. There we go. Okay, so that's our first level of shading done. What we need to do now is select the next darker colour and do kind of the same thing again, but with a little bit more kind of targeted. So for example, this dark tone will just be in the parts of the eyes which are drawing the most shadow. So coming in from the corners, This can really help the eyes kind of pop. Kind of help them stand out, look like nice and smoky. Often I don't bring this dark color into the nose, but what I'm gonna do, I'm very gently gonna just try adding a bit and see if I like it there. I think that could be alright, it does need to be blended in though. There we go. Hey, thank you so much to Amaze the Bouncer for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Alright, so where else do we want this dark color? We want it in a few other places. I'm just gonna put a tiny bit under the lip, and then a generous dollop under the chin. And then what we're going to do is I'm actually just going to blend the darker shadow in with the lighter shadow a little bit. Just to soften it a tiny bit, but the main kind of area is still very dark. Then we can go ahead and add a little bit more shading. For example, where the hair is cutting in is going to be quite dark. We'll have a little bit of dark shadow just kind of coming under the blouse there. And then finally we're going to take it into the ear, especially the dark kind of inner section of the ear. The ear is mostly done now, and then we can start moving it up through the horns, I think, as well. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to start focusing a little bit more on the very darkest parts of the horns. So these will be kind of the edges coming across. These kind of bottom bits. And we're going to do probably a bit of blending on this in a minute. There we go. I'm just going to apply it to the other side before I start blending anything. Remembering that we're going to have a light source the light source is kind of to the right. So that's why I'm mostly focusing these shadows on the left. But yeah, we are going to just blend them in a tiny bit. So, this bit, I'm just going to blend that in while I'm here now as well. A little bit of brightness there. Alright, and that is our basic colours for the kind of skin. We now want to give some love to the lips and the eyes, so we'll start with the lips. What I'm going to do is, I actually just need to fix a bit of opacity down there, so there we go. We are going to drive these slightly more purple. In fact, let's go the other way. Let's play with blue, because I'm feeling experimental. We're going to grab a dark purpley blue because I kind of want to drive up the goth factor with these lips a little bit. And we're just going to go ahead and start with the top lip. Can't resist the option to do some kind of dark, slightly goth makeup. Wonderful. And then the bottom lip's going to be a little bit lighter, as is usually the way with lips. Go ahead and paint in the gap. And then if you zoom out, we can kind of see what shape that makes. And we can see it's looking pretty badass. So yeah, I definitely like that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take that dark top lip color, use that to add a little bit of shape and shading to the bottom lip, like so. I will need to blend in a little bit of these colors, and then just cut them back a tiny bit as well. And then I'm going to do the same for the top lip. We're going to take a slightly darker color and shade the top lip starting from the corners. Just going to put a little bit of shadow kind of in the gap, in the area where the two lips come together. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and add some highlights. So with a slightly larger brush, I'm just going to do a line that comes across and adds a bit of shine to the lips, like so. And that is the lips. Let's give her some nice eyes. Let me just double check the details of her eyes. Oh, she's also got dark blue freckles, so we also need to do that. I can't see a mention of eyes. So what I'm going to probably do for now is give her kind of blue eyes, and I kind of like the idea of pale blue eyes. And if the commissioner wants something different, then I will change it. I'm going to start off with a very pale, almost kind of slightly yellowish grey. And I'm going to use this to just fill in the area of the iris there. And I tend to paint tieflings with slightly more human eyes than the traditional block colour that some tieflings have. Why? Purely because I find it gives them a little bit more humanity and makes it a bit easier to kind of relate to them, I suppose. Although my main tiefling Reza has just weird eyes, so usually I give tieflings quite weird eyes, my own ones anyway. Just gonna lighten up some of this shadow a tiny bit. Wonderful, and now we can start on the irises. So I'm actually gonna do these quite pale blue because I find that intriguing and fun. So we're gonna start with a pale kind of lilac colour. Thank you so much, Crow with a Brush, for the follow. Oh yeah, goat and cat eyes, very fun. My tiefling has black sclera and then amber kind of cat-like eyes. But this one will be a bit different. So with that selected, I'm now going to go ahead and we're going to make a brand new layer, and it is finally time to introduce the overlines layer, which I always enjoy working with. And we are going to go ahead and create a slight gradient from top to bottom. Hey, Maze the Banter! I'm happy you could catch a stream as well. Welcome. There we go. I'm actually going to go ahead with a smaller brush and use this as the colour for the ring around the eye. And then what I'm going to do before I forget is I'm going to take a really dark colour that's almost black, select a very small size 4 brush. I'm just going to put a little bit of emphasis on the actual like kind of eyeliner area, I suppose. Just to get the contrast looking nice there. There we go. So if we zoom out, you can kind of see the eyes have a bit more definition. But while we're here, there's some cool stuff we can do. So let's work on these eyes. So as we go towards more bluey tones, I'm going to take a much lighter icier blue, go up to a size 9 on the brush, and I'm going to add a lighter ring around the bottom of the iris. And this can have a really nice effect. I'm going to do it again with an even brighter colour. And carry that onto both sides. And that gives us a really fun eye colour effect that I really enjoy for tieflings. It keeps this a little bit magical without kind of losing the ease of relation that you get from eyes that are a little bit more humanoid. And it's a really simple thing to do that I find has a really nice effect. So it is now time for another favourite layer, the Shinies layer. I use the Shinies layer for bright points of light, often for metallics, or in this case, eyes. As we get a bright point of light on the eyes that really kind of brings them out. So let's just go ahead and save again. And we can go ahead and do the... Ooh, I've just noticed something. I think this colour's come over a tiny bit. Just going to chase that down because the jawline was going a bit snippy. There we go. Now we can do the eyebrows. So this big hair is all shades of blue, black, and a little bit of white. So we've got all sorts of colours going on here, and I'm very excited to do that. But to start with, we have eyebrows. And these eyebrows are going to be very dark because I like the contrast with the pale skin. So I'm just going to up my brush size a bit and just fill in the shapes of the brows. Whoops, that's slightly too wrong brush size there. And yeah, we're just going to go ahead, fill those in. And then we are going to highlight them a little bit. So I'm going to jump up to the overlines layer. I'm going to grab my favourite brush for shading hair and fur and add some highlights. And then one final level of light. And there we have our tiefling's face. So let's just do another save. And I think this is probably where I'm going to leave it for today. So I'm just going to drop some links in chat. Starting with my Twitter, if you want to keep up to date with when I am streaming, when I am uploading new pieces of work, and when commissions might be open, the best place to follow me is my Twitter, where I kind of keep everything up to date. Next up, I also have Instagram. If you are of the Instagram persuasion, consider giving me a little follow on there if you want to see some more of my art. Next up is YouTube. If you enjoyed my stream and you want to see more of my content, I have a YouTube channel where I upload past streams as well as a few other videos and types of content. Nope, no DeviantArt for you, sorry! Next up, the music I use in my streams is by a really cool artist named Kai Engel. You can find their work on the Free Music Archive, and it's really great royalty-free stuff for ambience, D&D, all sorts of things. Wonderful. After that, we are almost done. I will mention my Patreon. If you like my work, if you've enjoyed my stream, two of the best ways to support it are either becoming a sub on Twitch. If you've got a Amazon Prime Twitch sub lying around, please consider throwing it my way. I appreciate it massively. Or you can become a subscriber of my Patreon, where you can get a variety of different benefits, both of which will allow you to access our little Patreon and Twitch exclusive Discord, where you can chat about art, share your own art, get some feedback, or just show it off if you want to, and chat about all things Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, I think that is basically everything. Oops, I accidentally did that twice. I meant to put Discord in, not Patreon. So thank you all so very much for joining me today. I'm going to be back next week on Wednesday at 5 PM UK time for some more art, most likely Dungeons and Dragons related. So if you want to see some more, join me then. Until then, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you all very soon. Goodbye for now.